Chips, network routers, hacker attacks, security breaches. These are all the military battlegrounds of the future. And here to tell us about some of the consequences is Michael Lewis, expert at BB&T Capital Markets. He's following the world of cyber warfare. Michael Lewis, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Pim. It's a pleasure to be back.
You know, Michael, in sort of reading up for this segment about cyber warfare and investing in cybersecurity, the big question I had was, you know, why do people do it? I mean, this isn't just elements of the Chinese military or the Russians or anyone trying to break into the Pentagon's computers. There's a lot more to this kind of cyber attacks in cyberspace. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, typically what we've witnessed is cyber hackers, after information theft, they want to disrupt information networks. They want to deny service to internet systems, things like that. The reasons why they do it are still somewhat unknown, but a lot of the reasons is it's basically rogue hackers. Some are entrepreneurial. They're doing it for money. But there's many reasons why they do these types of activities.
Well, I mean, for example, I think that even in your most recent report, you talked about what, like a disgruntled Boeing employee? What did they do?
Well, that was a situation with information theft, and what happened was he used a thumb drive to basically take off over 300,000 files off of Boeing's corporate servers, and it's been reported that if that information were to get out or sold, it would have possibly impacted Boeing by between $5 and $15 billion. So the dollars are real. This is a major issue that the world's, not just the United States, but the entire world is seeing now with regard to cyber threat and cyber security issues.
Talk also about the issues related to the people that are in the military, right? Because there's an incident that goes back about 3 years now, but I would imagine it's not the only one. You talk about a disgruntled Navy operator. What did he do?
Well, that was a situation where basically he compromised a few computers, and what these computers did for the U.S. Navy was it maintained a tracking of ships in the Mediterranean. Now, if he was successful taking down these computer systems, you could have had ships colliding into one another. And that's another issue. I mean, the military cannot have its networks compromised. And what we're witnessing in the government right now is big steps forward to cause these issues that everyone's really scared of, to invest correctly and get the resources and the systems up that will keep this from happening in the future.
All right. Well, Michael, who's spending what? I mean, what kind of money are we talking about? And is this a Defense Department expenditure, or is this just a lot of different branches of the U.S. government? Because there's more than just DOD. There's Homeland Security. There's the Treasury Department. Where's the spending?
Okay, we have done an assessment of the cybersecurity market. We believe that the embedded cybersecurity market, that means most of the money that is currently in current contracts and future contract awards, is in the range of $52 to $56 billion. It's a really big number. With regard to new money, and this is an important point because it's not as much money as people had anticipated, we think over the next 5 years there's probably about $12 billion, at the high end, 18 billion in possible new money. So what we're seeing here is that the lion's share of the opportunity is already embedded in contracts. And that's why we are telling investors that they need to focus on companies that have very good contract concentration in the vehicles that will be used for the spending.
Now, when you talk about this spending, I'm assuming it's going to go to some kind of company. Is it the big defense contractors that we've known for the past, or are they focused also spending on a lot of, let's say, smaller niche players that have expertise in these individual areas?
It's going to be throughout the entire organizations. It's going to be from small companies to large. For example, two stocks I actually do not cover, but I think are well positioned for cybersecurity, include General Dynamics, and one of the best positioned companies, in my opinion, is SAIC. These are large companies. They've been working with not just the DoD and intelligence community, but the entire federal government for decades. And these companies have the positions on contracts, I think, will benefit them longer term. But it's just not the large primes. It's also smaller companies, some of the coverage companies I have that we're going to talk about, including CACI International, Mantech, L3 Communications. All these companies will have a specific niche that they will operate in, and they will benefit in the future off the spending surge.
All right, we're going to talk about those. We're going to have more with Michael Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets. We're going to talk about those specific companies, where the money's going, and where he thinks the stocks are headed as well. This is Taking Stock on Bloomberg. A programming note, Bloomberg's Taking Stock begins each weekday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Bloomberg 1130 AM, XM Channel 129, Sirius Channel 130, and on Bloomberg.com. This is Taking Stock on Bloomberg. I'm Pim Fox. We're talking about military battlegrounds of the future, cyber warfare, technology. My guest is Michael Lewis, expert at BB&T Capital Markets. He follows the industry group. Michael Lewis, talk about CACI. They most recently, didn't they get awarded like a $90 million contract from the Department of Homeland Security? What was that about, and what does that indicate as to the expertise of CACI?
Well, really, CACI is a strong player. Even outside the Department of Homeland Security, for example, I really think the opportunity for CACI is in Army intelligence. In fact, they have been very successful building their intelligence portion of their business, specifically with the Army, and a lot of this activity is related to cybersecurity in some way. In fact, about 3% of their core revenue is actually cyber-related revenue. But if you look at the embedded structure of CACI's business, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in work related to cybersecurity. So they are very fully working in growing that business, and we really like their positioning.
All right, now what about the stock? $46.20 on the close today, Michael. Is it expensive?
No, absolutely not. I think that the stock should be trading at a higher valuation range. We have a $60 price target on the shares, and in fact, they report their earnings in a week and a half, and I anticipate that they will have an inline quarter. But I think what people are going to be focused on is give us an update on the cybersecurity activity and where's the strategy and where do you think you'll be in a year or two.
All right. Now, another company that already reported earnings for the quarter, this is Mantech. You were listening into the call. This was on the 29th. What exactly did you learn?
Well, I wish we were on this call 2 days ago, because they've given up about 20% upside in stock price. They had a wonderful second quarter call. With regard to the cybersecurity activity at Mantech, they've been very successful as well. About 7% of their total revenue is tied to cybersecurity, and that's in the second quarter. But if you look back just 2 quarters, only 5% of the revenue was tied to cyber. So we've seen, in fact, about 40% increase in cyber-related activity in just 2 quarters. So that's just an indication of how strong the growth is in this market if you're positioned in the right places. And since Mantech has a very strong foundation with the intelligence community, Mantech will also be one of those stronger stocks that will benefit as spending continues to flow through the government.
Now, the stock was up, $2.29 today. We're talking about $53 for the shares of Mantech. What about the stock? Is it too expensive, and what's your price target?
Well, I still think there's a little more room to go. We have a $60 price target on the shares, and our valuation multiple implies a slight premium to the rest of the peer group in the IT services space. But if you look at the position in Mantech, I think that's something they deserve.
All right. And one of the last companies I know you want to talk about, this is L3 Communications. Now, they're a prime contractor for a lot of aircraft modernization programs. Is there any thought that maybe some of these big-ticket programs are going to be cut? Would that hurt a company like L3 Communications?
Well, of course, and L3 is one of the larger companies we cover. And, of course, any type of weapons cancellation would hurt any one of the companies operating in the space. However, L3 also has a very large IT business. In fact, back in 2005, they bought a company called Titan Corporation. They had over $2 billion in revenue tied specifically to IT, very heavily engaged with the U.S. Navy. And this is where I think L3 is going to play. I think they're going to play in secure communications, encrypted systems, And also algorithm development is another big area. And these are all areas I think L3 is going to be able to build a really strong niche market in, and they're going to be one of the benefactors in that specific area of cyber defense.
Michael Lewis, what is algorithm development? We know about it when we talk about high-frequency trading. What is it when you talk about cybersecurity?
Okay, so I think a good example would be you have a network with information flowing over that network. And what you're trying to ascertain is there data packets in that network that could be perceived as a threat or compromise that network? Or in other words, is someone trying to get a program in there that could cause that network to fail? That is what these algorithms search for, and that's where we think companies like L3 will play pretty significantly.
All right, and L3 stock, $75.50. What's your target there? How much could it be worth?
Well, we're saying that the stock's worth $101, and we think that over the next few quarters, we should start to see that stock start to move a little bit better.
All right. I want to thank you very much. Michael Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets coming in and sharing his expertise on the world of cybersecurity and on CACI, CACI, Mantech, and on L3 Communications.